From the crossroads of the world, in the heart of Times Square, welcome to Agent Brew, a podcast that percolates real estate insights. I'm your host, Eric Zollinger of RLTYco. Welcome to our viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm glad you're here. Today's fast-paced real estate landscape, success demands more than surface-level expertise. The Agent Brew podcast blends candid conversation from seasoned agents and industry leaders who have walked the path before you. Think of us as your strategic pit stop to fuel your real estate journey. It is my pleasure to welcome our guest today from Hanna New York City, the CE Group. Welcome, Kirk, Eckenrode, and Trevor Connolly. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for coming.
Hello. Good to see you, Eric. Thanks for having us.
Great to see you today. And, I always look forward when I have a special connection with our guests. And so, Trevor, you have a special pastime that you and I share.
We do. We went cycling around Central Park that one day.
Absolutely. And hopefully we'll be able to do it at some point soon again.
Agreed.
And so let's go ahead and get started. Gentlemen, I always like to have our guests start with an elevator pitch. So if you can share with our viewers and listeners.
Great. I'll let Kirk go first. Well, the CE Group, we're a combined 30 years of experience, which kind of goes a long way. We're able to kind of just give people the real upfront and honest opinion, which is why we like our job, because we're not in a position where we need to take everything. We're able to give people the right advice. And that's how people trust us in the long run. We're able to kind of stick there and be on their side throughout.
How large is the CE Group?
So we've recently shrunk. We're back down to 3 plus an assistant.
Wow. Okay. And what are your markets?
So I would say the 3 markets we're in are Manhattan, Brooklyn, prime Brooklyn, and then parts of Queens.
It's a pretty large area.
So I live in Dumbo, Brooklyn. Kirk is in Gramercy, and Kendall's on the Upper East Side. So between the 3 of us, we're able to service each kind of area well.
Yeah, we also try and stay, like, for the island of Manhattan, we try and stay below 125th Street, depending on certain deals and clients, but we try and stick to those certain areas.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge facing your team today?
Our biggest challenge is we work with a lot of estates, and the properties usually come in a state condition. With that, a lot of people don't want to do work. They want turnkey properties in this market. So I would say that's our biggest hurdle we're having to overcome.
Nice. So how did you guys meet?
So we both worked at Elegran. We started working together. It was the first deal. Kirk was working on a townhouse in Brooklyn. I knew Brooklyn pretty well. It was kind of an interesting deal. It was a Columbia professor. But if you didn't know, the colleges will give their tenured professors loans at a very favorable rate to incentivize them to move areas that are quite expensive. And so this was that situation. So he was buying a, let's call it $3.2 million townhouse in Brooklyn. I came on to help Kirk, and together we got the deal closed, and we've been a team ever since.
Got it. Wow. Long lasting from one deal. Where did you guys grow up, and how has that affected your business today? Did you guys grow up here?
Well, I grew up in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, very north central area. It definitely affects how I do real estate, but I think that actually is an advantage for me. I still, even though I've lived in the city for 15 years now, I still have like my Pennsylvania, I still have my Pennsylvania area code, so people don't always pick up my phone calls right away, but they know it's me when I'm calling. And I just kind of have those same type of values and approach to things. Like very upfront, very honest, but just hardworking at the end of the day. And it goes a long way with a lot of our clients here as well. So I still try and keep my PA roots.
And I'm from Portland, Oregon. Um, I moved here 22 years ago about. There's not much like,
quite the journey.
it's quite the journey. There's not a huge connection to Portland, Oregon. I do run into quite a few people from there. But my dad actually was in real estate out in Portland, so there's kind of that
Oh,
connection
okay.
involved.
So then, did either of you have careers before real estate, or did you guys basically come in and already start to um, be rock stars?
I like to think I was a rock star before I got into real estate, but in terms of a career post college, aside from some fun jobs I had during summer internships and whatnot, this is my real first career post college.
Got it. And
I
how about
worked
you,
for
Trevor?
I worked for Equinox for about 5 years before I came on to Elegran, and I had actually met Michael Rossi through Equinox.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
The infamous Michael Rossi, who actually has been on Agent Brew executive sessions. So fantastic. I always like to ask people, who are your mentors in the business? Speaking of Michael Rossi.
So there's a couple people I look up to in terms of just, and one you know very well, Briggs has always kind of been even though he's younger than me, he has always been a kind of an interesting person to bounce ideas off and talk to and kind of work with. We've worked with Briggs over the last 10 or so years. So I would say Briggs.
Yeah, and then for me also, and I know Trevor will share the same sentiment, is we've worked a lot with Molly Townsend, who's been like a really close confidant for our business in the past year plus. She's a really experienced coach, and just her leadership for our team and who we are as professionals, we've seen just personal growth through levels that we obviously wanted, but didn't realize how fast we could get there because of Molly.
Understood. So is there a favorite piece of tech right now that you guys are working with that you tend to really like?
Aside from the old cell phone, it really is, you're trying to automate so many things with AI. Claude is kind of like the favorite right now for our team. But we've really found that,
What is that?
Good Claude, the Anthropic AI tool.
Claude. Yeah,
And
it's everybody's favorite. Too, I'm a fan.
and one of the big tools that we use for is, we like to give weekly seller reports that are very bespoke reports to that specific client and seller. So it's like a 2-page weekly running report on showing feedback, comps, the whole area, and to just kind of throw in weekly reports that generally could take half a day just to put together, and you can get it done in like an hour. Is super helpful for our business right now. So automating a lot of our seller follow-ups is our favorite part of tech right now, using AI.
So you're bringing efficiency in as far as writing reports. Are you using it anywhere else in your business?
Comp reports,
Yeah.
that's similar, but scheduling, it has a lot of tools that work well with what we're trying to do.
Also, it's like sometimes it's like we're not the attorney, but we want like a good gist of due diligence materials. So when you send like 3 years of financials, you can ask like a couple boilerplate questions, and hopefully it gives you the right answers. But it'll give like kind of some clear context on due diligence materials that we can point out.
Got it. Fantastic. So, I always like to ask people if they have favorite wins in their career. It doesn't have to necessarily be, today or recently, but could each of you share a win that you've had and why it's important to you?
Yeah, so this is going to sound cheesy, but any win that I get a client into their dream home, especially depending on, usually it's a long journey, they've been looking at many different things, they've most likely put multiple bids on places and lost out, so I know it's cheesy, but any property that I get one of my clients into that's their home, family home, or vacation home is a win for me.
Yeah, a big win that we as a team had, like we had a really great client buy a loft in Soho, and he bought it basically in 2019 at the end of the year with hopes and dreams of making it like a full-time residence pied-à-terre. And he spent a lot of money on the renovation, and COVID changed everything. He grew up in Thailand, and during COVID, it changed his whole process and business and everything here. So he had no use for a space that he basically poured a lot of money into. And long story short, we were able to get him a really significant return when the market picked back up in end of 2021. And he ended up making money when he didn't even think it was possible. So something like that where people's plans change drastically, like we got him what he wanted on the front end, and then it was bittersweet on the back end, but we made him quite a bit of money. So he was happy in the long run for not actually moving here.
I'm sure he's a very happy seller. So on the flip side of that, any transformational losses that you guys have had where it was a major loss, but you actually turned it into a win by pivoting?
I have a funny story. Yeah, there's a lot of losses. That's almost like a lot
A
of
longer list.
Yeah, it's a long list, but there's always one for me personally that stands out. Is I learned early on that there's just some things that are in your control and you're not. And when you do have a plan, you have to get ready for it to go sideways, and you just have to keep the right emotion. But long story short, I had a South American diplomat in town, and they just wanted to rent like a really great place. So it was like one of my first big rental clients. I didn't speak the same language as them, but at the same time, Christine, who was our office manager at the time, was fluent speaking in Spanish and was able to kind of like help facilitate stuff. So when I got the day of the showings, I had the three best options I thought. And just a quick rundown of what happened. The first place, which was right next to their consulate's office, which I thought was perfect, ended up having the diplomats chief of staff opened up one of the powder rooms, and it had a full-on turd in the toilet. So that was out of it. So I go, oh, there's two options left. The second one had roach infestation. So I was like, you know what? The third place is going to be perfect. It doesn't matter because they can only rent one. It was a townhouse, but it was for rent by owner. And I didn't realize this, but at the time, that owner was known for painting naked, morbidly obese women as like a specialty. And it was a woman diplomat. And so everything went over really poorly. Never did the deal with the person. And they didn't speak to me for an entire month, but follow-up is a giant part of this business. And I stayed in touch with them. I just kept trying. Long story short, they didn't get a deal with us on that one, but I just kept a positive attitude, and they referred me other business afterwards because just who I was and my repeated follow-up after that. So they all can't be winners, but you just got to keep trying.
Look at that. Ended up being a win.
Great. So let's play the gratitude game. And the gratitude game is rose, rose, thorn, bud. But because it is Agent Brew, we like to throw a little bit of twist of a coffee in there. And so it is the aroma, the brew, the grounds, and the fresh beans. So the aroma, I like to actually grind my beans every morning. I don't know about you guys. Do you like coffee?
Yes. I'm a
grinder
as well.
So it's that the aroma that really invigorates and energizes you. What energizes you guys right now, or what gets you out of bed in the morning?
So just to piggyback on the bean grinding, I met a coffee song, and he said the most important thing that you can improve your coffee with is a grinder. So,
which we like to pride ourselves on. And the biggest thing for us is we are a very small team, and we've kept it small for a reason. Our biggest employee obviously is Kendall Estevez, who's not here with us because she's probably out closing some deals. But her growth of being part of our team for almost 5 years now is probably the most exciting thing for us because she's a great person, she's a great agent, and just seeing her business grow along with ours is like super rewarding at the end of the day.
100%.
It's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, no, she's really, when she started with us, she was at another brokerage for like 6 months, so she was very new, and
Mhm.
It's been very nice to see how she's grown.
That's great. And you were able to mold her into what you guys needed as well. And she just instantly became a great part of the team. So it's
Yeah,
great to
she's
hear.
now molding us. So.
Yeah, and she's her own self. We're not trying to have her be us. She's definitely her own person, which is even better.
So the next part of the gratitude game is um, the actual brew. It's what sustains you. It keeps you going. So one might say it's what is your why?
It couldn't be the same for both of us. We both have two girls, two young girls. So our family, it's not cheap living here. It's also schools are not cheap, and going out to lunch is not cheap. So everything just it costs a significant amount of money. But honestly, for me, and I think Trevor too, it's our kids, like and our family.
What are their ages?
So I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old.
And I have a 3.5-year-old and a 5-month-old.
Oh my
New
gosh.
York City provides a very interesting landscape for having children, and growing up somewhere else in like a suburban landscape, like I couldn't appreciate it more being here and like having my kids in New York City. I remember before I moved here, I watched the movie Hackers. I don't know if you remember the Angelina Jolie movie from the 90s, but it's kind of a weird segue, but he moved here. It's such obviously New York has changed, but it's such an interesting place to have kids. They can go to museums. They have such a complex life early on, but I think it serves them as adults.
Awesome. So from the girls to now the grounds. Basically, the grounds are also like the thorn of the rose bush. It's frustrating. It is painful. It's something that's causing you stress right now. Is there anything that's frustrating you guys in your business, or that's just annoying that you're just trying to work through?
So I think the biggest like thorn is just a lot of stuff is out of our control. And so being in the business long enough, you kind of realize that. Early on, it was kind of like very frustrating when deals fall apart and stuff happens, it's out of your control. But that still continues to be a part of the business that I wish it was a little different. But
Yeah, like the excitement that you can give a client when you get an accepted offer and then it falls apart 4 days later, and it's just like, well, that's just the nature of the business. Is always going to be frustrating because it is just the belly of the beast here, but that doesn't get old. It gets very annoying when that happens. When you have an accepted offer and then you're trying to play the game until the contracts are signed.
Understood. So the last part of the gratitude game is the fresh beans. Basically, what you're looking forward to, and it's basically why I started Agent Brew podcast to begin with, so that agents could come on and tell what is new in their business. Is there anything that you guys are working on now that you'd like to share, or you're about to launch, say in the near future?
Well, we have, like Trevor mentioned earlier, we have a good recurring business of estate sales. So any agents or buyers out there, they're always looking for rental opportunities and thinking they can get like good deals in the market. We certainly have them on and off the market. So that's always exciting for us. Our listing business is being really built upon that. And so it's always exciting to see what we can come up with. And we're kind of at the end of the spring season, but we're seeing an extended spring season now. So, I think it's exciting to see what this summer's actually going to be like. Plus, Knicks are in the NBA Finals. The World Cup is in, it's not in New York, but it's right over there at the tip of New Jersey.
Well,
there's a lot.
Surrounding, so you might as well say it, right?
There's a lot of good stuff happening here in New York City that's bringing a lot of activity across the board.
Also,
And when this airs, it'll be the middle of July. So we will already know if the Knicks are national champions. We will know.
Okay.
I don't know who won the World Cup yet, but at least we will be able to tease on having the wonderful thoughts right now that hopefully, and the dreams that we're going to be national champs, right? So,
Yeah.
so You know, Elegran recently became Howard Hanna in New York City within the last year. Have you guys noticed a difference, and has it helped your business?
100%. So we were always part of, Kirk and I were at Elegran when it was only 10 agents. So we've seen kind of the transformation. Now Howard Hanna has, I don't even know how many.
I think there's 15,000. It's the largest independent brokerage in the
I was about to say
national.
it's the largest independent brokerage in the country.
But so now we're part of something much bigger. We were just down in Nashville. The amount of events we've gone to, something basically every week. So it has been exciting to be part of something much bigger. You feel like you're part of, truly feel like you're part of a family. The entire group has brought us in and has been amazing. So yes, it's been great so far.
Glad to hear. So you guys are both young and still in the early part of your careers. So I'm curious to know what is the definition of success for each of you?
Good question.
Definition of success for me is like, because you try not to bleed emotions through deal to deal. I think like just early on, I would just get so bent out of shape from one thing going wrong, and it could hang over all day. If I can look back and like say, wow, I only lost my cool for like 5 minutes and everything else was fine, I think that's successful because the activity always breeds activity. You just gotta stay positive. Like an unrelenting amount of positivity will always just work out in the end. So if I can look back and say, okay, like, all right, I was in great spirits for 95% of the day, I think I look at that as more of a win than just like, obviously I want checks and money, but monetarily that only gets so far.
Understood. Trevor, how about you?
Yeah, I think there's obviously, New York's not a cheap place to live. So there's definitely a financial component. And as we've been in the business longer, consistency is key. And kind of just having stuff going all the time that is what I see as being successful.
So we wrap up every episode with the same question to each person. If you could give your young agent self a piece of advice, not someone young today, but you yourself, what would it be?
And mine's easy. Work harder, make connections, and keep the connections. I think that's the
Make connections? You mean networking more or build a
networking.
CRM?
You never know where your next deal is going to come from.
Okay.
So it's the more people you meet, the more people that you stay in contact with. It's only going to benefit you in this business.
Understood. It's a good one. And Kirk, how about you?
Just a relentless amount of follow up. Just never stop following up until they tell you, please stop following up. And that's really it to me, like just constant follow up.
So when you do follow up, do you have a specific like every 2 weeks or first 2 days, then 2 weeks, 2 months? Is there a certain special sauce that you like to?
I wish it was that easy to spell. Like I'm just like every few days like a robot. I tend to overthink it and try and map out like a real game plan. Like I'm following up with you based on X, Y, and Z. And if you don't respond, then I'm like making sure you understand what X, Y, and Z is all about. The third and fourth time, I make sure I get a response. Let's just say that.
Okay, so we always like to throw in any positive quotes or motivations that have really moved you over the years. Anything you'd like to share?
Use RLTY. They provide great service, and we love these guys. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, I'm so glad that you guys came on, and there's going to be future seasons, so we hope that you'll come back and visit us, tell us more about what your team has been doing. I always like to choose a positive quote from Zig Ziglar, and so the one I chose for you guys is, "The road to success is always under construction." Again, the road to success is always under construction because you guys are young. You know that there's always going to be a bump in the road, but you just keep going, right?
I like that.
Yes, I will say there is a quote that my mom gave me at a young age that always stuck with me, that I think applies to real estate too. And what I've been saying is, it was from like Chuck Swindoll, and it's basically like 90% of your life is how you react to it. So the reactions to what comes at you and how you know, go back at it is going to define your success.
And isn't it difficult in this industry sometimes to not just blurt out and give your your emotional response at the moment? So
Well, that's why
that
we
is a
have each
really
other. So we cuss at each other and we get it out of our systems, and then we call the client or the other broker.
So, guys, I know we were going to save this for later, but why not do it now, right? We still have a couple of minutes left. You know, you guys are very familiar with RLTYco. We see you in our office a lot. You get to hang out with us. So I'm curious, out of all of the services that RLTYco provides, what is your favorite?
From an agent perspective and a family perspective, healthcare has always been a huge issue.
Mm-hmm.
So having the services available through RLTY right now has really been super helpful for my family personally. You know, usually it's just like your wife or your partner's trying to be the one that provides the benefits. And, you know, my wife is an entrepreneur doing her own thing as well. And RLTY and the healthcare services has been a huge godsend to us.
Glad to hear.
I would have to say the continuing ed discount. Oddly, like
35%, at least 35%.
You can get continuing education.
Sometimes it's 40.
You do it every 2 years, but the fact that you guys offer a discount is exceptional. I couldn't
I myself
say
have
enough
used our
about the
CE.
RLTY. They're a great group
All right,
of
well,
guys.
thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on our episode of Agent Brew. It's always good to see you, and thank you for sharing your insights. And we wish you continued success in the future. Thank you to our viewers and listeners for tuning in yet again for another episode. I'm your host, Eric Zollinger of RLTYco, reminding you it is a great day for real estate.